I'm 17, and 2 summers ago when I was 15, 16, I worked at an average sleepaway summer camp of 4 weeks. It was right on the water, and I thought it was going to be nice. I was wrong, very wrong. Everything was okay and absolutely normal until my last week. So the last week I worked for a senior girls program, meaning girls aged like 11, 14 could attend, and all of the counselors were female. I had a cabin of 5 girls, 2 of which were brats, so most of my time was delegated to them. Now the first 2 days of camp were fairly normal. I had a few homesick campers at bedtime, but with some positive reassurance I got them to sleep. Homesickness with kids is only usually a problem at night, specifically the first few nights, as the kids adjust from being away from home. That's why I was so surprised. One of the most independent girls in my cabin, Kieran, woke me up on the 3rd night. She was standing in front of me and waiting for me to wake up. Creepy. She tells me that she thinks there's something outside and that she wants to go home. I told her it was probably just an animal. There were notorious deer and raccoons at the camp very often, and with some reassurance I got her to go back to bed. Now I didn't think twice about this. Having worked 3 weeks already, it was pretty common, honestly. Now, this is where shit starts getting weird. The next night, Karen does the same thing to wake me up. She tells me that she has to go to the bathroom, which was away from our cabin. I got with her. Once we're in the bathroom, in the light, it was pretty clear to me that she had wet herself, so I asked her about it, and she said it was just an accident. All right, I had no problems with this. I let her get herself cleaned up and went to get one of the camp leaders. So the camp leader, Elmo, starts to ask this girl some questions while in the bathroom. She asks her if there was a reason for the accident, and Kieran answered that it was because she was scared. She was too scared to move or get out of her sleeping bag. Elmo asked what she was afraid of, and Kieran said, the man. I'm a believer in ghosts openly, but at this moment I can admit that I did not think anything of this. Elmo asked Kieran which man she was referring to, and she couldn't seem to name him, but she described him. And this description is terrifying. She tells us over a long period of Q&A that this demon is average height and not nice. He's a man, but he's not human, and she was trying to warn us. She said that he had been following her and her brother for a long time. She told us that one day she was playing in the forest at her grandparents' house, and that's when she met him. He scared her, and she ran away from him. She said he always followed her, and he was always with her when she slept away at different places. Honestly, I should have seen the red flags all over that shit, but I didn't. I was tired, and it sounded like a kid's nightmare after watching a horror movie. After all that, my leader, Elmo, got this girl to calm down as she was crying and got her back to be with new sheets and blankets. And she told Kieran that our repair guy, Shank, was going to do some ghost busting for her in the morning and that everything would be okay. Later, I shared the story with counselor friends, and one of them, Ace, mentions 2 of her girls being freaked out by something following them. Apparently they were crying when they got back, and Ace had to calm them down. This had us all shook. Later, after the campfire, Shank, the repair guy, invited me, Elmo, and Kieran into the kitchen, and he gives this big bag of blessed salt for us. Shank told us to be careful. He didn't like the way this situation was feeling. I just laughed and brushed him off. We spread the salt doorway and windows, making lined of salt so the demon couldn't enter. Well, I thought this would solve our little foolish problem, right? Wrong. Kieran pulls me aside before bedtime and looks up at me with the saddest face I've ever seen on a child, ever. And all she says is, "Ink, this isn't going to work. The demon likes salt. He's going to come for it." Ink was my camp name. I don't know why, but I started having a panic attack. I didn't let the kids see this, though. I told Kieran just to try and get some rest. I begged Shank to let me sleep in the break room and have one of the senior staff members take my cabin over for the night. He hugged me as I cried. I was so freaked out all of a sudden. I felt as though something very bad was going to happen. Shank gave me another bag of blessed salt to keep with me and told me I had to sleep in that cabin. I had to protect those kids and that it was God's plan for me. I listened, though. I clutched my flashlight and the bag of salt as I tried to sleep that night, but I still had this ominous, horrific feeling of fear and death looming over me. It was so creepy. It must have been around 2 or 3 a.m. There were no phones allowed or any clocks in the cabin, so I had nothing to tell time or to stare at except the surrounding darkness. This is when shit really hit the fan. All the girls in my cabin completely asleep. All inhale a deep breath at the same time and exhale the word "ing." So I whisper back, "Are you girls awake?" And I get nothing. After a few minutes of being absolutely petrified, I hear their normal snoring and shuffling sleeping sounds begin once again. That wasn't the end of the creepiness of this night for me, though. Next, a while later, I hear the door creak open. There was an outside screen door and an inside actual door. I had both doors closed. I hear the outer on creaking open. I become alert immediately, adrenaline coursing through me. I'm looking out my window and at the door, trying to see anything in the pitch blackness, when I see a black flash to my right. I look over and I see this entirely black being leaning over one of my girls on the bottom bunk across from me, and as soon as I notice it, I see it reaching for this girl's face. I flicked my flashlight on and gripped the bag of salt, and I said, "God loves me, God loves me, God loves me," over and over again. I shit you all not. I see this black mass dart towards the door, and the door just opens. The inner door, it opens up wide, and I believe the demon had left. I still felt absolutely freaked out, but I didn't feel the same weight of terror as before. I didn't sleep a wink that night. As soon as I saw the sun start to come up from my window, I darted up and over to my good friend Marco's cabin. Before I can tell her anything of what I just saw, she tells me that she was woken up in the middle of the night by someone or something breathing heavily outside of her window next to her bed. But when she got up to check it out, thinking it was a kid or something, all she saw was a dark figure turning and going into the bushes. She brushed it off as a deer, probably. We went for an early morning shower, and I told her everything. That's not the end, though. Even though that was my last night, and this was not the day we were supposed to leave, Marco and I were in the break room, waiting for Other to wake up and join for the morning meeting. Ace comes in and tells us something that made my blood run cold, despite the fact that I had calmed down from the night's terrors and felt oddly peaceful. She said that she had looked out her window before bed, around midnight, when the moon and stars were lighting shit up, and she said that she saw a black figure that looked like a person leaning against the tree behind my cabin, looking into the window. I am still freaked out by this experience today. Let us know your encounters in the comments below.